All right, let's talk about something that hits home for a lot of athletes, this idea of athletic overinvestment. We're going to break down what it is, how it's probably affecting your performance without you even realizing it, and most importantly, how you can find a better balance for a stronger, longer career.
I want you to really think about this for a second. You know that awful, sinking feeling after a bad game? That moment where one mistake, one loss, feels like it just completely defines you? If you've been there, you are definitely not alone. And that feeling, well, it actually has a name. It's a huge mental hurdle that a ton of athletes face, and we need to talk about it. So let's get right to it. What exactly is athletic overinvestment? Let's put a clear definition on this thing. In simple terms, it's when the line between who you are as a person and how you perform as an athlete just disappears. Your sport stops being something you do, and it becomes the only thing you are. And this right here creates an incredibly fragile sense of self. When you have a good performance, you're on top of the world. You feel valuable, you feel worthy. But a bad one? It feels like your entire world just crumbles. It is an absolutely exhausting emotional roller coaster to be on. To really get a handle on this, sports psychologists use this fantastic metaphor. They call it your identity portfolio. Let's take a look. So think about it just like you would with money. You can either spread your investments out across a bunch of different areas to build a really stable foundation, or you can go all in, putting everything you have into one single stock. Let's see what each of those looks like. So here we have a healthy, diversified portfolio. Now look closely. Sport is still a huge piece of the pie, and it should be. You're a dedicated athlete. But it's balanced out by other really important things, like family, school, friends. This way, if one area takes a hit, say you have a bad season, the whole structure doesn't fall apart. It stays strong. And now, look at this. This is the overinvested portfolio. Sport takes up almost everything. All of your identity, all of your self-worth is poured into this one single thing. And all those other crucial parts of your life, they become these tiny little slivers. So here's the real danger. What happens when that one single asset takes a dive? Maybe it's an injury, you get cut from the team, or you just hit a really tough slump. When 90% of your identity is tied to that one thing, the psychological crash can be absolutely devastating. Okay, so how do you know if your own portfolio is getting dangerously out of balance? Let's talk about how to recognize the warning signs, whether it's in yourself or maybe in a teammate. These are the red flags to watch for. We're not talking about normal pregame jitters. We're talking about anxiety that feels completely overwhelming. It's when a healthy focus on winning turns into a total obsession with results. Every little mistake feels like the end of the world, and a loss isn't just disappointing, it's emotionally crushing, and it's almost always followed by this brutal, harsh inner critic. Psychologists actually have a name for this process. It's called identity foreclosure. It's basically when you commit so completely to being the athlete that you shut the door on exploring any other part of who you are or who you could be. And that's what makes you so vulnerable when things in your sport inevitably go wrong. Okay, so we've laid out the problem. We know the signs to look for. Now for the most important part. What do we do about it? Let's get into the practical, actionable solutions. And let me be perfectly clear here. This is not about being less passionate. It's not about being less dedicated to your sport. Your commitment is your superpower. The goal is simply to build other pillars of value in your life so that your sport isn't the only thing holding you up. So here are 4 real strategies you can use. First, actively invest time in your other roles. Be a great student, a good friend, a son or daughter. Second, find a hobby that you just enjoy, something that has zero to do with your sport. Third, make friends who aren't on your team. And finally, and this is a big one, you have to consciously practice telling yourself, my worth as a person is separate from my last result. When you start doing this, something really fundamental starts to change inside you. Failure, which used to feel so personal, like an attack on who you are, it starts to mean something different. Yeah, it still stings, of course it does, but it's no longer a catastrophe. Instead of being this final judgment on your worth, failure just becomes information. It becomes data. It's just telling you what didn't work and showing you where you need to get better. And what do we do with good, clean feedback? We use it, right? You take that information and you make smart, targeted adjustments to your training, your strategy, your whole mindset. And that
That right there is the positive cycle. Those adjustments are what lead to real sustainable growth, the kind of growth you need to be excellent over the long haul. So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. If you want to be mentally tough, if you want to perform at your best consistently and actually enjoy the journey, your sport has to be a huge part of your life. But it can't be all of your life. That balance, that's the real foundation of resilience. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Who do you know, maybe a teammate, a friend, maybe even yourself, who defines their entire worth by their results? If any of this resonated with you, think about sharing it. You might just help someone find the balance they really need to thrive.